LiberalViewer presents.
So one of the major successes of President Obama's first year in office was the way he stabilized the economy, making the tough decisions that helped keep the U.S. and even the world from tipping into another Great Depression. And though even over at Fox News, the business reporters couldn't hide the overlap between Obama's policies and the biggest stock market gain in a president's first year since before World War II, incredibly, on a supposed straight news program, Fox News business anchor Jenna Lee reported that overlap like this.
And we've seen a lot of overlap between Washington policies and what's going on Wall Street. So we decided to ask the question, is there any connection between the president's success and the success we've seen in the stock market over the last year or so? So what you're looking at right now, if you take a look at the red line, that points to Rasmussen polls, a Rasmussen report that's looking at the president's approval rating. The blue line is pointing to the S&P 500 and taking a look at the market. So you can see as the president's approval rating has dropped, we've seen the stock market rally and go back up.
And now, it's not surprising that the surge in the stock market during Obama's first year in office would match a decline in his approval ratings, given the way the president spent political capital to stabilize the economy, but Fox News never even considered that possibility. Instead, the possible explanation supposedly most fair to Obama that Fox News could come up with for its graph was that Obama had nothing to do with the stock market surge, as you can see in this clip.
We have to ask the question, why has this happened? And you can see the markets have really seen a 10-month rally, and it may have nothing to do with the president at all, really, to be fair.
To be fair? And if the explanation that Fox News gives to be fair to Obama is that he had nothing to do with the biggest stock market gain in a president's first year since before World War II, it shouldn't be surprising that the other possible explanation is even more biased against the Obama administration, as you can see here.
So the market's bounce back could be just part of a generally bigger cycle in this recession. But the other dynamic to consider is this. From the stimulus package to healthcare reform to cap and trade, many of the president's economic policies have been viewed negatively by the investment community as anti-free market growth. So as his approval ratings drop, the markets react optimistically because the sense is his policies are not going to become a reality.
So there it is, the Fox News version of fair and balanced. Either President Obama had nothing to do with the biggest stock market gain in a president's first year since before World War II, or that gain was the positive reaction of investors to President Obama's lower approval ratings, even though if Fox News really wanted to be fair, there is that other obvious possibility that Fox News could have gotten just from the Obama administration itself, as exemplified by the statement of David Axelrod on MSNBC's Hardball that same day that you can see in this clip.
I told the president, Chris, a year ago when we sat down and heard the economic forecast from our economic advisors, I said, you know, you got some great numbers. Admire them now because a year from now they're not going to be nearly this good. You can't govern in an economy like this when so many people are struggling and not, as the person in charge, bear some of that with you. And we had to do some very difficult things to get this economy moving again. The recovery package, stabilizing the banks, stabilizing the auto industry. None of that was popular. We knew it wasn't popular.
And also there are plenty of actual journalists Fox News could have found, to be fair, that would have given viewers more balance, including, for example, the analysis of Time magazine editor-at-large Mark Halperin appearing on last Sunday's Meet the Press, pointing out that despite criticisms of Obama as more style than substance, the opposite turned out to be true, as you can see here.
They said he's just words, he doesn't know how to run the government. I think, ironically, it's just the opposite. He's done, I think, an extraordinary job running the government, as John said, under difficult circumstances. He managed the economic crisis, kept the world from going into a depression. He staffed the government with very quality people. He showed he could be commander-in-chief and manage these two difficult wars. What I think, ironically, the problem has been is he's not inspired the country to feel a sense of optimism and renewal and to be unified in a bipartisan way.
And that's a more balanced assessment of Obama because that explanation actually fits the facts, unlike the one back on Fox News where, even though that theory that the stock market likes setbacks for the Obama administration was contradicted by a 200-point drop in the stock market the day after a Republican victory in Massachusetts took away the Democratic supermajority in the U.S. Senate, Fox News anchor Jenna Lee ended her segment by trying to mask that contradiction with the spin you can see in this clip.
With Scott Brown's election in Massachusetts indicating maybe a delay or even a stoppage in the healthcare bill, healthcare stocks really caught fire. Now the markets are not tied to just one man or one policy, but something that we're going to watch going forward to see if there is that connection.
But, of course, although I waited for Fox News to watch for that connection, the next day when the stock market dropped another 200 points, Fox News never corrected the previous analysis and predictably just found another way to blame it on Obama, as you can see from another supposed straight news anchor, Trace Gallagher, on another supposed straight news program here.
If you notice, the president made some comments this morning about new rules he's proposing for the way banks use their money. The Dow has plummeted. The Dow's down about 190 some odd points today. There it is, 199 points. We're not saying one has to do with the other. We're just kind of pointing out the Dow has gone down precipitously since the president made those comments, but now he's talking to mayors.
So now a drop in the stock market is matched with action by President Obama, even though it contradicts the Fox News theory from the day before, which makes it look, I think, like this video belongs on my Fox News bias playlist as another example of the way that whether there's good news or bad news, it always seems to end up as bad news for Obama on Fox News, but I want to know what you think. Was it really fair of Fox News to present an analysis in which the explanation most favorable to President Obama was that he had nothing to do with the biggest stock market gain in a president's first year in office since before World War II? And given that the performance of the stock market really reflects the collective guess of investors as to how the economy and particularly corporate profits will perform in the coming months, shouldn't President Obama get some credit for making the tough decisions that help keep the U.S. economy and even the world from tipping into another Great Depression and thereby convincing Wall Street investors, at least, to be optimistic about the future?
YouTube, you decide.